it can be easy for us to question things and to wrestle for faith. And for me, it has taught me the value of being honest with God, that God wants our brutal honesty. He doesn't want us in our perfect form. He doesn't want us to deal with all these things before we come to him. He wants to meet us in our weakest moments.
How do you find and keep hope alive?
I will find hope in what Jesus Christ did for me.
Do we believe?
My hope is centered totally, completely in him.
Do we trust?
I have hope today because of what Jesus did on the cross.
His hope doesn't change.
Hope is triumph in our triumph.
Welcome, new artist, Sarah Kroger. Well, new to us.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today for What Hope Sounds Like. You were talking earlier, we were in the studio today, and you shared your story of how God got you through some difficult times and what a formative part of your story that is.
Yeah.
Can you share your hope story with us today?
I would love to. So grew up in a really musical family, parents both involved in music ministry from before I was born. So we were forced to take piano lessons and voice lessons and all the things. I hated it at the time. Obviously really grateful for that foundation now, but always knew that I had a gift for music. I don't know that I would have been able to really verbalize it like that when I was a kid, but I always knew that it was this precious thing that I just loved. And I was bullied a lot in elementary school. And so I just kind of put up this wall to protect this gift that I loved, that was precious to me. And I refused to sing in front of people for the longest time because I was scared. I was terrified. I was afraid that they were going to tear it down. And so I just fiercely protected it. And then I went to a youth conference when I was a junior in high school. Matt Maher was leading worship. It was the first time I'd ever experienced contemporary worship music. It really was the moment that taught me how to pray. Really, it was through the music that I realized that Jesus was a real person that I could have a relationship with, rather than just going to church to kind of check off a box and do what my parents told me to do. Jesus became real to me, and it was really through the music that I experienced that. And there was a speaker on that retreat, and he was speaking to the whole room, but it felt like he was speaking just to me, like a spotlight was shining right on me. And he said, if you have a gift from God and you're not using it, you're denying the glory of God within you. And I felt like a 2x4 hit me across the face. I felt like God was saying, I'm trying to speak to you, Sarah. There's something here. And the gifts that you have are not meant for just you. And he was inviting me to step out in faith. So I went back to my church, started volunteering, started saying yes on Sundays. I mean, I probably sound like a dying animal for the first year of like volunteering, like just terrified still, so scared. But the Lord is kind and the Lord is patient, and just kept giving me the courage that I needed to keep showing up, keep saying yes, one small yes after one small yes. And then the church down the street would ask me to come and lead worship, and then the church across town, and then the church in another state. And before you knew it, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And now I get to travel the world leading people in songs to Jesus, and I cannot imagine doing anything else. And I was this close to allowing fear to keep me from becoming the person that God wanted me to be, to keep me from sharing my own piece of his glory that I uniquely share with the world. And everyone has that, right? Everyone has that in their life, a piece of God's glory that they're made to share and to shine in their own way with the world. And so for me, it really was just overcoming fear. And I've continued to do that in my adulthood. It doesn't get easier. Every day is a simple yes to the Lord and to the opportunities he puts before me. But that's definitely my hope story. Yeah. Just a story of how God can use our little yes and make a difference in the world.
You've acknowledged doubt in some of your music, and I really appreciated that kind of that transparency and that honesty. What does that look like? What does that mean to you? Can you speak to the issue of doubt?
Yeah, it's a vulnerable thing, because I think a lot of us as human beings wrestle with questions. A lot of us, because of circumstances that life throws our way, or whatever we've experienced, really in the last 2 years is the first time that I've really struggled with questions and had to wrestle for faith rather than it coming easily to me. And it is a gift, right? It's a gift that we receive, the gift of faith. And for most of my life, I felt the presence of God so easily, so easily. And really in the last few years, it's been the exact opposite, where I've felt his silence for the first time. And it's been really hard. And a part of that journey is I've felt a lot of shame around it, because I felt like it's my fault. What did I do to make you turn away from me, God? What, do you hear me anymore? Are you listening? Do you care? All of these questions, all of these honest moments, honestly, it has taught me the value of being honest with God, that God wants our brutal honesty. He doesn't want us in our perfect form. He doesn't want us to deal with all these things before we come to him. He wants to meet us in our weakest moments, because that is where his grace can flood and show us that it is in our weakness that he is strong, and teach us. Honestly, for me, it's been teaching me how I never knew that I could trust God this deeply. I never knew that I was capable of this level of trust. And it's been through this season of a desert. That's what it's felt like, that I never asked for, I never wanted, I never anticipated. But it's holy work. I believe that now. I believe that there's fruit on the other side of this wrestling that I wouldn't get to if I tried to skip around it. And if I was afraid of the questions and didn't allow those things to really come to the surface and bring them to God, and allow him to meet me there. So it's been a wild journey, and it's been a very humbling season, but I feel like the Lord has allowed it to happen for his glory, honestly.
What would you say to someone who's struggling, who would say to you, Sarah, I don't know what I believe, or all the things I believe for so long? I mean, what would you say? Where would you point someone, or what encouragement?
Honestly, for me, the Psalms have been life-changing in this season. Just to see, there are Psalms that talk about the glory of God and faith and trust and full of faith. And there are Psalms like Psalm 22 that says, my God, why have you abandoned me? It covers the gamut. I mean, it covers every part of the human experience, from the highs to the lows and everything in between. And to me, it's such an example of like the human experience, and to know I'm not the only one that has gone through this. If David has gone through this and wrestled with it and continued to be faithful to God, then we can do the same, and we don't have to be afraid when the questions come up, because they're going to come up. And if we try to avoid it, it's only going to get worse.
Right. So
bring your heart to God. Allow God to meet you in the midst of those moments when you're questioning and when his silence feels deafening. And this is another thing that I would say, is that silence doesn't equal absence. That's probably the biggest lesson that I've learned, is that sometimes God is just silent. He just wants to be with us in the silence. Mother Teresa once said that God is a friend of the silence, that God speaks in the silence of the heart. And so allowing yourself to enter into that silence and befriend it and allow God to meet you there, I think is really powerful. Don't be afraid of that season. If that's something that you're walking through, be encouraged that maybe this is the place where God is molding you, and like a potter with the clay, like he's molding you into something new, and allow God the space to do that, to show you something in the midst of that.
Sarah, tell us how we can find your music. How can people learn more and listen to you?
Well, if people listen to CDs nowadays,
what's that?
If you like a physical copy of CD, you can find that on my website, sarahkroger.com. Nice. But for those of you who are hip and modern in your listening experience, you can find me on all the digital streaming platforms. So Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all the places. Sarah Kroger, Sarah with an H, Kroger. And then I hang out mostly on Instagram at @skroger, and I'd love to see you there.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for sharing your gift and allowing God to use you. And again, thanks for your hope story.
Thank you.
I'm Jeff with The Light FM, and that's what hope sounds like.